Yo, people always ask me what kind of frames I'm rocking. I've been rocking Caddis for a couple years. They make amazing progressive readers, which I wear. Also, they make sunglass readers, anti-glare, anti-smudge coating, anti-scratch, and anti-aging. That's why I look mad young when I wear them. I'm just kidding. But they make amazing frames. Caddis, so stoked to have you guys part of the podcast. You can go to caddislife.com/Toby10 and get $10 off your first purchase. Stoked. Thank you, Caddis. Welcome to the fam. Yo, Liquid Death, thank you so much for hydrating all my guests, taking care of me and my family and my friends. Love your water, love your brand, love what you stand for, love what you give back to the community. If you want to learn more about Liquid Death and how it started, listen to episode 115 with the co-founder, owner, and creator of Liquid Death, Mike Cesario. Just a punk rock skateboarding kid from Delaware with a dream. It's an incredible story, incredible journey. They have now blessed me with my own code. So if you go liquiddeath.com/Toby, you get free shipping on any items you order from liquiddeath.com. Thank you so much, Liquid Death. Death to plastic, murder your thirst. Stay hydrated. You know H2O saves lives. Welcome to the One Life One Chance podcast. I'm your host, Toby Morse. Today I got my brother from another mother next to me again. Chappelle Lacey, thank you for being here. I appreciate
Always.
it.
Thanks for having me.
I really appreciate you being here. I know you're you're on to the next thing in your life, but
Yep.
I'm honored to have you here.
I don't mind this at all.
Yeah, for those listeners, Chappelle Lacey retired from podcasting.
Why do you keep saying retired?
Because I love it. A couple of days ago.
You act like I'm like 80.
And I dragged you back in. Like the mafia.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Thank you.
And then sitting across from me, I'm very honored to have him here today. We met briefly at Punk Rock Bowling, and my son recognized him. My son's a massive fan of the show. He was one of the many shows he was on. And I'm not going to pronounce his name wrong. Mr. John Ross Bowie.
Very good. You nailed it.
Did I say it right?
Yeah,
Bowie?
you did. You're fine. Yeah,
Okay.
you're good. You're good.
It's spelled Bowie. Okay.
Now you're in your head about it, though.
I'm
is the
totally
problem.
fucking
Yeah,
in my
yeah,
head.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, dude, that's cool. His last name's Bowie. And that's Scottish, right?
It is. Yeah. Yeah. And
Awesome.
also, not to be this guy, but it is actually the name I was born with, which you can't say for every icon. He was David Jones. He was David Jones. And he changed it because of the guy from the Monkees.
Dude, I'm just saying this now because we call him.
Yeah.
Listen, he's called Deep Dive Lacey, but I already feel like you met your match already as far as like music, information, and knowledge and history.
Mm-hmm. Well, I find that people and correct me if I'm wrong, Chappelle, but people in comedy are usually just repositories of trivia. I feel like because the craft thrives on specifics.
Yep.
You know,
everything's within detail.
Everything is in the details. And am I great at balancing a checkbook? I am not. No, but I've got tons of like all sorts of ephemera floating around my head and little trivia details like that. And I imagine you do as well.
Yeah.
Chappelle.
No, I felt it when we were talking about MDC. I was like, this guy knows what's up. I was like, he's going even further. I was
But
like, okay.
Chappelle, also to watch you record your vocals in your new punk band with Off the Dome, no lyrics written out. No. That's a comedian style a way of
I didn't realize that either. But
that was insane.
We're just because I have to remember what I'm saying on stage because. You know, if I'm going up there for 50 minutes, I got.
Well, that's the thing about stand-up that I find so daunting. And I mean, you say this about acting too, but like stand-up should make it. Improv should sound scripted, and stand-up should sound like it's just coming to you at the minute. You know, like, and that's a delicate balance to walk.
Yeah,
and
it's tough.
Yeah, and I've seen some of your stuff online. It's good. Yeah, it's just you get that real nice conversational talking to an audience rather than at them thing going on, which is nice. I like that a lot.
Yeah, because I'm like, what's the best way? What's the best way I could just feel natural up there?
Yeah,
just conversation.
Yeah, you make them feel part of it, like you're having this conversation.
Yeah.
I'm excited for your journey ahead, Chappelle Lacey. You're a young lad and you're doing very well.
I am a young lad.
I'm excited for you. I'm excited for your journey, though.
After my journey from London, yes, I am a lad.
Yeah, he just went to London for the first time.
I saw,
to see one of these guys.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, no, that's right. You posted about it. That's right. You posted about it.
It was a magical experience for him.
Yes.
London's a great
biblical,
city.
as Liam would say.
London's a great city.
Yeah.
London's a great city.
But first time leaving the country, then going there, and then seeing.
And then played the legendary. I did a show at the legendary
100 Club.
Oh my God, you did?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So he knows that.
Amazing.
Yeah. It was kind of, it was out. Now that was crazy.
You didn't even know until after people started telling you.
No, I didn't realize it.
The Clash, Sex Pistols.
Yeah.
And then a fan, they were like, "Oh, you're following us in the footsteps of Oasis," and they sent me like the ticket stub, Oasis played there in '94.
Dang.
What?
Like when they first
So like Live Forever era
Yeah.
kind of. Oh my God.
Yep.
He knows Oasis don't live forever.
Yeah.
I knew. I remember like seeing photos or reading stories about like the early punk bands playing there, the Clash and your Damned and your Buzzcocks.
Oh yeah, they have all those pictures
That's
up there of them
incredible.
playing there. It's
like the CBGBs of England.
It's a very fascinating room. I don't know. There's like, and obviously, I've never been to CBGB's, but I'm pretty sure it probably has the same feel.
And
the same
smell,
feel,
maybe, yeah.
where it was like, you just feel this energy.
Yeah.
When you walk into the room, that just like, I don't know, like it's like a.
If this place catches fire, we're all doomed. Is that energy? Was that the energy? Because that was the energy at CB's. Like
is that what it
one,
was?
Yes.
one stray match and we're all dead.
one flyer catches on fire. Yeah.
Oh no.
How about the bathroom? How's the bathroom at the 100 Club?
It was very small. Oh well, it was
The
a little
CB's
bit more
is crazy,
updated.
yeah.
Well, there
But
was
I used the green room bathroom.
Yeah,
Oh,
you did.
sorry.
Yeah, all right. There was one bathroom for everybody at CB's,
Dude.
and there was a meme that circulated in the summer 2020. You know
Yes.
this one that was probably accurate. That just showed a picture of it. Didn't name it. Just showed a picture of the famous CB's bathroom and said, "Hi, if you ever use this room, you are likely immune to the coronavirus." That
remember
fucking
It was
thing.
that crazy?
It was disgusting.
I mean, there was a toilet with no walls anywhere,
stall,
but 3
nothing.
urinals. I don't know anyone who took a dump there. I don't know anyone who knows anyone who took a dump at CB's ever. Did you? No, you're kidding.
Well, now you do.
Oh my God.
Yes.
I shook your hand.
I had to go there once before.
Oh my
and I
God.
had
You
my
didn't
friends.
you go up the street to Phoebe's.
I couldn't make it because I got weird stomach things when I was younger. I had my friends do like a wall of death around me. So like they stood, some of my friends stood there so I used the bathroom. We used to always block the door. I had to go, man. Had to, man. I didn't sit on it though.
Oh, no,
I
of
did
course
the
you
Hoover over
hovered.
top.
Yeah, sure,
hovered,
of course. You had to.
So now you met somebody.
All right, well, there we go. This
I know
has been,
you've gone a long time.
Wow.
Without meeting someone.
Yeah, I am solidly middle-aged, and that's a half century until well, this has been great, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
So you were born and raised in New York?
I was, yeah, Midtown. I was born in Queens,
What part of Queens?
Rego Park,
Okay, I know that.
like
yeah.
deep out there, not too far from here. I've got my parents met at
Oh wow.
at the I'm showing off my tattoo. This isn't a visual medium, but I've got the Unisphere from the World's Fair,
Amazing.
the '64 World's Fair, which was held in Queens, and that's where my parents met.
Okay.
And then I was born in Queens, and the theme of the World's Fair this year was peace through understanding, which is nice.
Nice.
So I just got this done a few months ago.
Oh, nice.
A guy named Graham Chaffee.
Is that your only tattoo or no?
No, I got my kids' Hebrew names on the inside of my
Oh,
arms.
nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I think that's it, though. I think I made my point. You're. I mean, how am I going to keep up with you? Look at you.
So that's cool. Yeah, Queens. Growing up there, so many great bands from Queens.
Well, I was born there. We moved into Midtown Manhattan when I was like 4.
Oh, okay.
And then my last place in New York was in Queens before I moved out here. And I always it's always kind of been the underdog borough, you know.
Yeah.
Like, the Bronx has the Yankees and Brooklyn is Brooklyn. It's Walt Whitman
Yeah.
and there's downtown
Biggie
Brooklyn.
Smalls. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Queens has brought so much into the world, but I mean, LL Cool J and Christopher Walken off the top of my head.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Ramones,
Run DMC, there's just so much. Tribe Called Quest came from Queens.
Yeah, that's right.
There's so much great stuff, but the Mets play there, and they're
Nas.
always getting. But Nas is from Queens. Yes. Yeah, there's so much great stuff from Queens, but it always is given this sort of red-headed stepchild treatment by the rest of the city, and I love it. It was a fun place to spend a few years, and there's amazing ethnic food out there. Mm-hmm. There are actually. Let me see if I can get the statistic right. There are more languages spoken in the smallest amount of space in the world. Does that make any sense?
Oh, okay.
Like for the square footage of Queens,
Okay.
there are more languages spoken in that area,
Wow.
in that borough, than in any other region in the world.
That's amazing.
It's super, even by New York standards, it's super diverse and really interesting.
Yeah, I used to live in Astoria.
Yeah,
I lived
sure.
in Jackson Heights.
Yeah.
Is this all Queens?
This is
Yeah,
all
it's all
Queens,
Queens.
yeah.
Yeah.
Jackson Heights has got great Indian food. Astoria is where my then girlfriend, now wife, had a place before we moved out here.
Nice.
Yeah, it's so filled with actors right now that they're calling it Actoria because it's still
Really?
it's really cheap and it's 7 minutes to Midtown. You're right there.
Yeah, because the rents really hasn't changed out in Queens like it did Brooklyn and stuff like that.
No,
Right?
it didn't.
Yeah.
It didn't gentrify as much as Brooklyn did. Not by a damn sight. No.
We can't forget Murphy's Law, man.
Murphy's
Jimmy
Law
Gestapo
from Queens.
From Queens.
Murphy's
man.
Law.
He's
really?
Queens. Yeah, so many. Yeah.
Yeah, and so many of the guys right before your generation of New York hardcore were from Queens. So many of those guys were from like Elmhurst and those places out a little further out.
Yeah. Sick of It All's Queens. Biohazard's Queens.
Oh, shit.
Leeway's Queens. Nuclear Assault, like a lot of those other bands. Yeah, so
And it's considered like, the redhead stepchild?
It's great. Yeah.
Well, I mean, Brooklyn is historic, and Walt Whitman was from Brooklyn, and the Bronx has the Yankees, and Manhattan is the center of everything, and Broadway and everything, and Queens just doesn't get the respect it deserves. Like the Ramones are from Queens, and we will all probably agree that the Ramones in their lifetime did not get the respect they deserve, and they are the perfect Queens band.
100%. That's a good point, too. Yeah. Who's going to love that? My Joe that edits my podcast, he's from Queens.
Oh, yeah,
He's
yeah.
going to love this. He's going to agree with this 100%. So then you're in Manhattan. So, yeah, how's it growing up in Manhattan?
I mean, people ask me that all the time, and I'm never really sure how to answer it because I didn't grow up anywhere else. A little scary. I'm 51, so I'm there in the blackout of '78.
Oh yeah.
I'm there for the muggings and burglaries of the '80s. I got both mugged and burglarized. Not a fan. Don't recommend it.
Yeah.
But at the same time, once I started getting into punk rock, it was amazing because every band came to town. It was never a question of like, I gotta get my older brother to move me, to drive me 2 cities over. It was just every band would show up.
Yeah.
And because I was straight edge in high school, my parents gave me a slightly wider berth than other, because they'd be like, yes, I'll be out till 2 a.m., but I'm going to come home smelling of just sweat. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm going to be pure as the driven snow. So let me go to the Ritz and see the Super Bowl of Hardcore or whatever. And that'll be that's sort of my bargaining chip. For my teen years.
Mm-hmm. And how'd you get into punk and straight edge and all that? Do you have like siblings and stuff?
No, I don't. I got into it initially because I thought it was so funny. And then I bought the first Ramones record at the Tower Records up near Lincoln Center.
Yep.
You feel me?
Yes.
Which is a furniture store now, I believe. But
Sure.
I got the first Ramones record up there, and I thought the song titles. Now I want to sniff some glue. Today your love, tomorrow the world. I was like, these are really funny, And I'd always been into comedy growing up, and I was a Weird Al fan. I still am a Weird Al fan.
Nice,
I saw Weird Al 3 nights ago at the Wiltern. Great
Sick.
showman. But initially the humor attracted me, but then. The yelling and the guitars and everything. I was like, oh yeah, I don't think I articulated it as such, but like I'm a anxious kid. My parents are divorced. The city's fucking terrifying. This is making my outsides feel like my insides. Like, this sounds like the inside of my head,
It was the visual to your inside.
Yeah, it really was, and all the bands we were just talking about in the living room, the really aggressive stuff like MDC, 7 Seconds. I loved 7 Seconds because they were super hardcore, but they were also kind of candy asses. They really wore their hearts on their sleeves, and I loved that about them.
Yeah.
Still do.
Yeah.
There was
super positive,
but super vulnerable, and they would talk about the importance of friendship, and all this like incredibly I keep coming back to the word vulnerable.
Yeah.
There's
Not
a
just
vulnerability.
Boys Fun.
Not just Boys Fun and Man Enough to Care.
Yes, that's my favorite song.
Fucking
Off
Man
New
Enough to
Wind.
Care off
Don't
New
talk
Wind.
about it.
Man Enough to Care is a
Dude.
fucking, that is a magna opus, man. I love that song.
Especially when you become dad later on in life and just everything.
Oh,
Dude.
yeah. Especially now that I'm a father of a boy. Yeah. No
You're the only
kidding.
person ever mentioned that song on this podcast.
That can't be true. Really?
You know, Kevin's writing lyrics out to people now.
I know.
And he's going to do Man Enough to Care for me. Hit him up about
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That's going to be lovely to have.
because growing up without a dad, and then I don't know why that song just really hit me when I was a kid, man. That song still, Man Enough to Care.
Well, what's interesting was that, I went to see a lot of hardcore shows in New York. I went to a lot of the matinees at CB's. This is
What years?
I turned 16 in 87, and that's when I was able to.
That's when I was born.
Oh, okay, that's didn't have to. I'd have let that slip, but all right. I swear to God, your fucking son said to me, by the way, as a sidebar, real quick. Your son, God bless him, sweet kid, came from a good place. Comes up to me and goes, "Man, I grew up watching you." I was like, "Thank you. I'm dead now." either die young or live long enough to hear someone say that to you.
So funny.
Shit was raw. That shit was raw. He came from such a good place. Came from such a good place.
God,
I don't begrudge him anything. It was clearly from a place of love. But
and that was him and his grandma's show.
Oh, really?
They got T-shirts, everything like that. He's coming home now. He's psyched. But anyway,
amazing. But yeah, so I started going to see those shows, and like I love a lot of that stuff. I love a lot of that New York
like the hard stuff
shit.
too. Yeah,
yeah. Like, because I loved my heart belongs to the poppier, more melodic stuff, but the riffs of Youth of Today, side by side, these were sick guitar bands. You know, these were just sick guitar bands.
Yeah.
And I would, if you positioned yourself close enough to the stage, you were right up at it, but you weren't in the pit because the stage at CB's was at this weird angle.
Okay.
Yeah,
like
you watch from the side.
It didn't quite face all the way out.
Nah.
So you could kind of position yourself where like Porcel would be sweating on you, but you weren't in the thick of it. And that was me.
Yeah.
There might be a photo. I might be in a photo. Did I show you this photo?
Maybe I see some side stage thing with you too. Maybe.
Yeah. There's a shot of a kid with wavy dark hair in a wig out at Denko's shirt. I think that's me.
I
think that's me. He's at the side of a Youth of Today because that was my fucking spot, right by Dennis the bouncer.
Yeah, Dennis. Yeah.
So I dug all that shit, but it was really macho. It was really hard. It was really macho.
Street, yeah.
And it was really street, and it was everyone was in amazing shape. And I was like, I thought we kind of, as punk rockers, I thought we agreed that we weren't going to work out. I thought that was I kind of thought we had a deal going on. Yeah, right. I thought we had an understanding here. What's with all
that
these
was the
abs?
whole youth crew stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, that youth crew shit. Those guys were fucking ripped, and
especially Purcell,
and they'd stay shirtless, and they were just like, "What are you doing?" But so when you had so balancing that off with stuff like 7 Seconds or the more overtly nerdy stuff, like I loved so much of some of the LA and Orange County bands. I love the Dickies. Love the Dickies. We've gotten to know them over the past couple of years, actually since the pandemic, and it's the fact that I have Stan Lee on my phone blows my mind.
It's cool.
So it was. I went to a lot of the hardcore shows. It wasn't really my scene. I was straight edge, but I wasn't.
Militant.
I wasn't quite as angry about it, Like I was friends with the Deadheads at my school. I was friends with like the crust punks at my school. There were. I was, trying to kind of be an ambassador to all, I guess, But those shows
you were more
so
universal.
Fun. I mean, I just, I never have limited myself to like I'm just going to listen to this. Punk rock spoke to me in a way that other music didn't, but I would still listen to other stuff.
Yep.
Yeah, I was the same. Like I was straight edge, but all my friends weren't straight edge. Like I was friends with all the youth crew guys. I lived in the Gorilla Biscuits house in Queens, sang on that record.
Yeah.
They changed my life, turned me vegetarian in the 80s. But like I wasn't just militant, just that. Like I listened to hip hop, I listened to everything else. And I wasn't just straight edge.
What's cool is hearing like, obviously you guys both coming from the New York scene, and hear you guys talk about it. And I just hear more and more and learn so much more. But it seems like everybody knows it. Whereas like I came from Arizona, like it wasn't. We just didn't have like a scene that heavy to where like when you were like Dennis the bouncer, like we don't have those kind of like I don't have those kind of stories. Maybe it was just because I was going to all those shows by myself and just kind of kept to myself and probably I just enjoyed watching the bands that I wanted to see.
What city did you go to see shows?
So like I grew up in Mesa, Arizona, but like Phoenix is pretty much
shows.
For all the shows.
Kit, this is going to seem a little indelicate. Was there a predominant black contingent at the punk shows? Okay,
no, it was just me.
Okay,
it was just Lacey.
Okay,
right
just the guy with the Gallagher brothers on his shirt. Okay,
everybody knew me.
See, you were the Dennis. You were the Dennis. Is the thing.
Also, maybe people do have stories about like, I remember.
I remember Chappelle the comedian always used to go to shows and be in the pit moshing.
Yeah, he would flip over people in the pits. That's what I was.
There was one black punk at my school named Alvin, and I think Alvin had a tough time of it because he because the New York hardcore scene could also be kind of conservative too. It could also be these were guys from working class families in deep in the outer boroughs or Long Island or Connecticut. You know, they weren't like
we're all working class.
The Lower East Side scene was not kids who lived on the Lower East Side. They were kids whose families were from like and their dads were pipe fitters or bus drivers or what have you. So you could there would be like you'd occasionally hear some strikingly right wing rhetoric coming off of the stage sometimes. So there was that conflict, and then there was the fact that the black punks that I knew didn't feel super comfortable in their own families in the sense of like, well, I'm off doing this own thing, my family doesn't understand why I'm not really super into Earth, Wind, and Fire, and I'm dating myself, I know, but
that's what Derek says,
but I've always found that kind of be an interesting dynamic is all. Yeah, I know it's super touchy to talk about this stuff, but
I always think it's so interesting, and especially with just coming back from London, to going out to see Liam, and one of the most interesting things that happened to me there. So people, they'd be like, "Oh, what brings you here?" Obviously, they know I'm American,
right.
But I'm like, "Oh, I'm here to see Liam," and I didn't even have to say his last name.
No, of course not.
He's godlike to them.
Yeah, he's like the Queen,
yeah, exactly. And so, and people were kind of just like caught off guard, and I thought it was going to be they're going to say, "Oh, another you're a black guy that likes Liam Gallagher." No, they were like, "Oh, we didn't know people from the States liked him." The way, and then I showed them like my "Live Forever" tattoo, and then
plot twist, nice
plot twist.
Yeah, and I've never had that happen before. To where I was just seen it as American first and black second.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, I've never in my life have had that, and it was kind of cool because it was just like. I literally thought that was going to be the conversation because I'm so used to having that conversation.
Yeah.
But the fact that I didn't have to, it was just like, oh, I'm having a new conversation.
Wow.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, I like him, live, whatever. And then when I showed my Live Forever tattoo, they were like, oh, you like him like we like him. This is amazing. So it was
cool.
It was just cool to be perceived that way, to where it just didn't have anything to do with a black dude that happens to like. They were just like, oh, people from the States.
Amazing.
Yeah.
American first. That's lovely. Yeah. That's really lovely. How cool. Yeah.
It is. It's very interesting, cool, but it was very, very cool.
Yeah.
I mean, we step out of the States, you notice.
But it seemed like, as I watched like a lot of the New York hardcore, correct me if I'm wrong, but as I see like some of the old like New York hardcore videos, it seemed like there were quite a few black kids.
Yeah.
There were,
Puerto Ricans,
there were.
Yeah.
It was, there was not a ton represented on stage. There's Shaka from Burn off the top of my head.
Boy, what up, Chaka Malik?
Yeah.
And
Gingy from Absolution was another one.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. Gingy. That's right. God, I forgot about Absolution. How did I forget about Absolution?
Yeah.
Absolution were on one of the really early matinees I saw at the first bill I saw. Damien from Fucked Up sent me the flyer one time. He found it online.
Shout out to Damien. What up, Damien?
Yeah, Damien's the best. But he sent me a flyer of the first hardcore matinee I saw, which was like 3 New York bands and then the Adolescents.
Wow.
Oh,
and the audience, I've told this story before, but the audience shifted and I stayed for everybody, but the audience, like the hardcore kids showed up, then they left, and all these suburban kids came in from like Jersey, from like nice suburbs. They came in to see the Adolescents, and I was just there for the whole thing. But yeah, it was wild. But that was the Adolescents in like '87. I want to say they're touring Brats and Battalions at that point. Mm-hmm. You're not in New York yet, right? Are you still?
I moved to New York in '88.
Okay, all right. So it's right before.
Yeah.
You grew up in Massachusetts?
Rhode Island.
Born in
Massachusetts, and went to Rhode Island. Yeah, Newport.
Okay, all right.
But that's where I grew up with the Verbal Assault guys because I went to school with Chris Jones, his brother John Jones. We went to middle school together. That's how I connected with them.
Oh, okay. Wow.
Incredible band, man.
Yeah. I would have seen Verbal Assault open for DI.
That makes sense. Yeah.
Either DI or Dag. I saw Dag Nasty a few times.
Oh, Sean Brown. Well, he was from DC. The different.
Yeah, the original.
And then Chuck Trace, drummer from McRad, and also.
Oh, that's right.
Underdog.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Why did they do matinee shows?
Why did they do I don't know. Why did they?
I just saw somebody talk about the other day. Why did it happen? Who started it? Somebody posted about it. I don't know,
so
man.
Maybe
because
the show
it was,
would be at like
3 o'clock in the afternoon.
I know we're missing some.
Never started on time, but it was supposed to be 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
And then they would have a late show.
Yeah, well, the late show was the audition showcase on Sunday night, so they wouldn't advertise it per se, but like they would basically put your band on, and if you could draw a crowd, then they'd move you later in the week.
Yeah.
So the Sunday
okay.
and Sunday was not like it was when CB's was just like booking bands. It wasn't like
so
showcase.
matinees were only on Sundays.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know we're missing a key reason for it too. Somebody broke it down recently. I'm trying to think what the real specifics.
I mean, in other towns, it was because they were genuinely all ages shows.
Yeah.
CB's weren't all ages. There was a bar you had to be 16 to get in. You had to get stamped if you wanted to drink. It was a whole thing. In other towns, the matinees were because we can get this VFW hall or whatever, and that'll. But CB's was it'd be 4 or 5 bands for $5.
Yeah, man.
And which even in the 80s in New York was like, wow, that's cheap. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah. Like even at the time, you're like, that's less than a movie. That's not bad.
Yeah.
It was. I've never actually had it adequately explained to me why they did.
I know there's
matinees.
some reason, but that makes sense. All ages shows and Sunday nights and
yeah.
So you were in it, like you were always at the shows.
I was at a lot of shows.
Yeah.
I wasn't always at the shows, but I just really liked it there. I just love live music, I really always have, and that energy. And there was also a sense of horror movie danger. It really was not. I can't impress upon you enough how unsafe that building was. Okay? Your best case scenario is try to go out the back, but the back would exit into an alley.
Yep.
And that was often kind of like fenced off or blocked off, or the dumpsters would move or something. And God knows what you would find in an alley off the Bowery. But if you were near the stage and there was a fire, it's way too far to go out the front door. So yeah, you're gonna have to try to get out the back. There's just those 2 egresses at the either edge of this very long hallway, essentially. So there was a real sense of like, wow, this is exciting.
So did your parents know this part?
No.
As well?
Fuck no. Years later, when my band played there, my mom came to see us at CB's, God love her, may she rest. And she showed up, and she looked around the place like, she basically said that. She's like, so I just let you come here. I just like, I let you come to this fire trap.
It was, man. And there was like a rehab center or something above where like all kinds of people going
it was like
in
a
and
halfway.
out.
The Palace Hotel.
Something. But I remember being there one day when like something happened where people were yelling at the people upstairs and they pissed in the milk carton and threw it down and exploded all over the ground by everybody.
Yeah, that's not about right.
Yeah.
They weren't cohabitating particularly well. The punks and the guys upstairs. Yeah, it wasn't like a rehab, but it was like a
something.
Halfway. I mean, they were
yeah,
it's the Lower East Side in the 80s, so it was like, there's this methadone clinic over here, and there was a bunch of different resources.
Was that due
for
to
people.
the crack epidemic?
I mean, it wasn't not due to the crack epidemic. Remember, heroin was crack's older brother. You got to remember that, heroin had already run roughshod over the Lower East Side before crack even showed up. So there was a lot of stuff going on.
It's so crazy hearing all this because I just did not grow up in an environment like that.
The Warriors vibe.
It was like the Warriors.
The Bowery was crazy. Yeah, man. There's all kinds of stuff going on down there.
Yeah. Yeah. The Warriors, Taxi Driver, you get the gist. Yeah.
I remember one time for some reason some random Nazi skinhead came to a show by himself, Sig Heiling, and the whole entire show, it was pretty, I can't even talk about it. It was horrible. But the dude still kept getting up and still Sig Heiling, and he was in the middle of the Bowery and on the island trying to Sig Heil from the middle of and then just, it was crazy.
Oh, he got beat.
Dude, it was that shit did not fly. Especially the bands that were playing and just everybody coming from all different boroughs. It was crazy, man.
I remember seeing, because I saw like huge backlashes to people getting like real like capital S skinhead, not sharp skinhead, but like skinhead. I saw the backlash to that.
Yeah,
but I also saw like weird shit coming. There was this one band that like got up there and was just saying awful shit one time and was not like...
They're a hardcore band, New York band?
Yeah, God, I'm fucked if I can remember their name.
I want to say it, but they might have to edit it. Because I know exactly what he's talking about, I think. They won a hardcore compilation. Was it Youth Defense League?
It wasn't Youth Defense League, but I heard about those guys. Yeah, no, it was another band who were complaining about welfare cheats or whatever, one thing or another. It was a whole thing. But it was mostly, it was just it was just goofy and friendly, and it was fun down there, and you could strike up a conversation based on somebody's T-shirt, and
100%,
and it would be really welcoming and inclusive. And these are all these people who had that same experience that I did. We're like, oh, this noise sounds like what's going on in my head anyway.
Yeah.
So having that bond with strangers was really special.
We talked about it the other day, like, you can still see somebody right now wearing a Fugazi shirt in the street in 2022, and they probably do know who Fugazi is.
Oh, well, so
but then there's other certain band shirts like, did you buy that there? Do you know? Like, you could always recognize somebody who comes from your world, but it's different.
I mean, if you see someone in a Fugazi shirt,
yeah,
most likely they know what that is.
It's very possible they made it themselves.
Yeah,
there are no official Fugazi shirts,
exactly.
so it's very possible.
Too,
exactly.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more to it.
But back then,
Ramones and MDC. That's not MDC. MC5. You see like Ramones, MC5, Misfits could mean anything.
Yeah,
Misfits could be like, I like this skull picture.
Yeah.
Yes.
But back then, you're right. You saw somebody connected, had a conversation, or
Yeah. It was neat.
So through all that, like, you know. I know Toby's experience of the New York hardcore, but, you know, hearing that you experienced, like, you know, similar stuff and seeing all the crazy stuff, how did you keep a strong, like, I mean, you seem like you're pretty, you know, well-mannered and just, you seem like a good guy.
I have my shit together?
Like you got your shit together.
Well, I'm an actor, so I'm acting like I have my shit together. That's a big part of it.
Because like hearing you guys talk about this stuff, it sounds so crazy, and I just never experienced anything like that. And I think when that is just something you see all the time, because you said you were going to shows all the time,
right? Well, no. Here's the thing, though. You know, yes, there was some crazy shit, and there were some people who were using really hard drugs, and there were people who went from being straight edge to using really hard drugs, and there was a lot of stuff going on. And then there was the whole Krishna core thing, which is a separate podcast unto itself.
Yeah,
and
Shelter.
But you know, there's that old adage that punks are nice people pretending to be mean, and hippies are mean people pretending to be nice. I saw that illustrated
I've never heard that before.
Again
that's
and
wow.
again and again. You know, these were a lot of badass guys who had tattoos before it was even legal in New York City.
True.
But they were pussycats, man. They were real. Yes. Ultimately, they were good guys. And you know, if you fell down, you would get picked up. You know.
Okay.
You know, or if your glasses flew off repeatedly. Let's just say hypothetically that happened to somebody. They'd help you find your glasses, and maybe they wouldn't be in one piece, but they'd help you find them.
No, that's
you
true,
know,
man.
you know, and I got to tell this to the guys in Field Day when we saw them at Punk Rock Bowling. When I was 17 or so, I saw Dag Nasty do a show there, and it was fucking. They were a powder keg. They were so Brian Baker. It's the Peter Kortner lineup.
We love that lineup too, man. Yeah.
And I think they were touring off Field Day. And, you know, somebody backed into me and my glasses dropped and they were gone. They were just, you know, they cut my cheek a little bit. And my friend took me over to Dag Nasty, and he wanted to interview them anyway. But he's like, hey, yeah, we'd like to interview you for my zine. My friend kind of got tossed around a little bit in the van, in the pit. And Dag Nasty was like, oh, yeah, here, come into the van. Come just sit in the van with us. And just to, like, having been knocked about, like actually physically knocked about at the show, and then have this safe place with the band I was there to see.
Yeah.
Like, my friends who were into Top 40 did not get that.
Yeah. I know what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, there was a level, and so you know, the reason I'm not super fucked up is because, you know, there was actually a great deal of kindness in the scene, and a great deal
especially
of
from people you idolize.
Yeah,
100%.
you know, and there was a great deal of inclusiveness
Equal to the band. Yeah.
Yeah, and there was and this is what finally gave me the courage to go into acting. It all kind of connects, is that I had seen the line between performer and audience be so porous over the years that when it became time for me to, like, kind of reassess my life and decide if I wanted to go start studying improv and get headshots and make all those big steps, I was like, well, no, if the performers can talk to the audience, then the audience can get up there too, which also was a thing that happened at CBs. They would get up on stage all the time, you know? And it all kind of connects. Like, there's no way I do what I do now, getting up and talking in front of people, acting, auditioning, any of that stuff, without having gone to all those punk shows.
Yeah.
It all kind of connects.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that. And it's like, and those places, the shows, they seem crazy and violent from the outside, but it was like a community and a family, and it was all the people coming from different backgrounds and being together under this music, these messages you can't hear on the radio. You can go up to the singer from Diagnostic at the merch booth after they play. Like, all that stuff is amazing, man.
Yeah, and just like listening to, do you remember the False Prophets?
Yeah.
The False Prophets were not a hardcore band. They were kind of a straight-ahead punk band, but they were super political, really fucking intensely political. And they had this bonkers lead singer named Stefan.
I'm not sure.
What was his name? George Tabb played guitar for them for a little while. George from Furious George. And they were, singing these aggressively political songs. In the beginning, man created God, and to have that thrown at you. All your buddies are listening to Duran Duran and Howard Jones, for whom I've got nothing but love. But to have that shit thrown at you when you're 14 or 15 years old is like, whoa, there's a whole new world out there. This wasn't the sort of like poetic politics of Bob Dylan. This was something much more in your face.
The Kennedys too, man.
Yo, yeah, the fucking Kennedys. Oh my god. Oh my god.
Shit you're singing about back then happening still now. Just everything, man. It's
dude, the stuff in the way the way they talk about cushy northeastern liberals in Holiday in Cambodia is just as true as it ever was,
Wow.
And the way they the stuff in Trust Your Mechanic off Plastic Surgery Disasters, those songs are masterpieces.
Soup is Good Food, everything.
Soup is Good Food is a powerful song for me. Soup is Good Food. I've got a book coming out in the fall, right? Okay. And Soup is Good Food is quoted directly in the book. Okay. And I can quote the first verse from memory because it doesn't even rhyme. It's just like, it's a guy getting fired, basically. It's his boss telling him he's being fired, and it's just brutal. It's just late stage capitalism, but they're singing about it in 1986.
I know, man.
It's fucking wild. Yeah, that's off the Frankenchrist record. Yeah.
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 I even know I like government Jerry Brown. Like, who the hell is this Jerry? I know nothing about politics until that band.
And the thing about Jerry Brown is that Jerry Brown was a centrist Democrat. We've had worse governors, no question, but they were like, their attitude towards Jerry Brown was like, don't think because this guy dates Linda Ronstadt that he's automatically one of the cool guys, okay? Just be fucking careful here, okay?
Yeah.
This is, fascism is going to come with a smile. Be careful. And that's what I mean. Like, it wasn't just like, fuck Reagan, which is fine. Fuck Reagan, great. But there was a real sense of like critiquing the left as well.
Yeah, both. Yeah, yeah.
In a way that is not tidy, and isn't necessarily going to make you feel good about your convictions, and is going to call you into questioning everything. Yeah. And that was what was so valuable about the Kennedys.
Yeah.
It's so crazy how in tune some of those bands were with that. Because, you like an outsider would look at these guys, someone that's not of the punk rock world, and they'd be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? But they were just so in tune with a lot of that stuff politically, to where you're like, damn, like, whoa. And then when you hear some of those lyrics today,
dude,
you're like, and they still make sense.
And they still make so much fucking sense.
Nazi punks fuck off, all that shit. It's just
all
like
that shit, yeah.
But people wouldn't give them the time of day because they called the Dead Kennedys. They're punk rock. They go crazy on stage. But lyrically, it was like,
yeah.
Well, I mean, that name is parent repellent. I mean, that stuff was. I mean, that
and
was
bad religion too.
raw.
Yeah.
That Dead Kennedys, like, my father was a dyed-in-the-wool Republican. Even he was like, ooh, yeah.
I remember there's this interview when someone asked Jello. It was like early on, obviously. That they were like, why the name Dead Kennedys? He goes, why not?
No, seriously. I mean, it is such like. I mean, It gives you two reactions. You either just go running in the other direction, or you're like, all right, I'm curious. What are you guys singing about? What does this sound like? And it was, those guys were just mind-blowing for a high schooler.
Yeah. Side note, do y'all remember when he was, I think he was on Oprah?
Joe with Tipper Gore.
Yeah, with Tipper Gore. He was going hard on.
That's very, very impressed that someone born in 1987 remembers that, because that's
Deep Dive Lacey.
Deep Dive Lacey. No shit.
Were your parents kind of tripping on the music you were into, like going to? I know they knew you straight edge and you were safe going there, but what did they want something different for you in your life?
No, they were. I gotta give them. My dad was fairly dismissive, because my parents were. Were not boomers. They were silent generation. They were born in 1937, 1942, respectively. So there's not like, they didn't go through the summer of love. They were already in their 30s, you know.
Yeah.
So there was not a real sense of even like quote unquote rock music being their thing necessarily, you know.
Yeah.
They didn't hate, you know, Elvis. They didn't hate Buddy Holly, but it wasn't, you know, my dad was already out of high school by the time. My dad was in the workforce by the time the Beatles came to America.
Okay.
My dad's in the workforce.
Yeah.
You know, and he's from a generation where, like, your childhood is fucking over at 18. Your childhood is fucking that. I hope you enjoyed it. You're fucking done.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Playtime is fucking over. Start drinking and start drinking hard. So, so there was a lot of rock in general that just kind of eluded them. So this was a degree apart from that. Having said that,
yeah,
my mom in particular could be remarkably open-minded and would kind of sit down with me sometimes and, you know, do the things you're supposed to do as a parent. Like, okay, well, what is it that you like about this? What is it that, and you know, I could appeal to her sense of humor. Like the Dickies have a song called "She's a Hunchback." It's about falling in love with somebody who's a hunchback, you know, and the silliness of the Ramones. I think, you know, they responded to that. So like they didn't, you know, you weren't going to catch my parents in the pit, but they weren't like the stereotypical conservative parents, like no son of mine and not in this house, young man. You know, they were all things considered pretty chill. And again, when I was in a punk band of my own in my 20s. My mom would come see us a lot. God bless her. She would come see us a lot. And one time she helped me not carry, but roll my amp out of the of CB's after a show. God love her. She did, yeah.
The band was called Egghead?
We were called Egghead, yeah.
Is that before Egg Hunt?
It is after Egg Hunt, and the reason
and Palehead. Is it a mix between Egg Hunt and Palehead?
It wasn't. No,
okay.
It was just a good name for three guys who all had
it's a great name,
corrective lenses. The reason I thought about Egg Hunt, but I was like, you know, it's 2 songs. Egg Hunt put out 1 7-inch. That's all it is.
Palehead too.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
With Ministry. Yeah.
Interesting. Oh, good point. Good point. But yeah, and I love that Egg Hunt 7-inch. I love that Egg Hunt 7-inch. And the first time I learned to play We All Fall Down on bass, I felt like a fucking superhero. But yeah, there was no correlation. It just seemed like a fun name for the kind of geeky punk we were playing, and it fit.
Were you in college then when that band started?
The first version my senior year, but then I was in my 20s in New York, and we were playing bills in, you know, would have been around the time H2O was starting out, but we were just as different tracks as we possibly could have been.
Yeah.
We were doing like our best shows were at the Continental.
I know Continental, yeah.
Yeah,
Continental
you know,
Divide.
which would do a lot of they would do a lot of like goofy, sloppy punk shows. It'd be us and the Sea Monkeys, us and Furious George, us and
maybe Trigger that worked the door with the hat.
Sure. And there was a sign over the bar that made it very clear that if you called out Freebird, you'd be ejected from the club. And I didn't see anybody test that shit. Nobody tested that shit.
So what are you doing at the time you have the band? What was your goals? Like you graduated college? Were you working? What were you doing at that point?
Well, I went to college to be a high school teacher, and I did that for exactly 1 year, and it broke me like a twig.
Wow.
And I went back to my old high school and taught there, but I was 22. I had topped off at 5'8". No change on that front still. I remain 5'8", and so like, you know, there's these 10th grade girls who are towering over me, and they're pregnant. It was just like one thing after another. It was just a lot, you know. And I was starting to come to terms with the fact that I had like some sort of depression, anxiety disorder that we weren't quite labeling, but I would take things very hard, you know, like a lot of teachers were able to keep a very even keel and sort of just roll with it. And, you know, if you reach a couple kids, you're doing a good job, you know. But I had this whole, like, I have to come in and save the world attitude, which was not healthy and not productive and not true. And so, you know, I would have parent-teacher conferences, and, like, 4 or 5 parents would show up of the, you know, 90 or so kids I was responsible for. And that would really depress me. That would really shatter me. And then at the end, and everyone else was like, yeah, no, a lot of parents just don't show up, you know? And I just couldn't get my head around it, and it's around that time that I stopped being straight edge.
Oh, really?
yeah.
Were you straight edge most of your whole life until then?
I was straight edge. I was
never tried nothing
crucified to the X until like 22.
Wow.
And then literally that night of that parent-teacher conference, my old art teacher, who is now my colleague, was like, let's go have a drink. And I was like, fuck yes, let's go have a drink. Absolutely, Mr. Kelly. Oh, Stefan? I'll call you Stefan. That's great. Let's do this. So I went and got just fucking polluted.
First time
First time getting drunk. I'd had like a couple sips here and there, but
Yeah.
I'd first time getting like capital D drunk, and also, you're 22, you bounce back. You've been straight edge your whole life?
Yeah.
Okay, so you bounce back from a 22-year-old drunk pretty quickly.
Okay,
It's a Coke and 2 Advil, and you're right as rain.
Yeah.
So it became a hobby, and then it became a little bit more of a thing, and now I'm straight edge again.
Nice.
I've eclipsed over about 20 years of stuff there, but
Did you end up going off the rails, like partying like crazy?
no, I never went like super hardcore, and I've still never done any of the hard stuff because that shit genuinely, because I loved booze so much that I was like, oh, I think the hard stuff would be really. Cocaine sounds amazing. I don't want any part of it because I'll get really.
Yeah.
It's super fucking expensive. I'm bad with money anyway, and it's gonna make me feel like a giant for 3 hours. Yeah, that sounds like a really bad combination.
Yeah.
Last thing I need is to spend a ton of money in order to chase this invincibility. But yeah, so I was bouncing around, and I got laid. I didn't quit. I got laid off at the end of that year of teaching, and was like, I just don't feel like I'm ready to grow up yet. I want to get the band started again. And everybody was down in the city at the time in New York, and we just started playing out. And we put out a couple 7-inches, and it was a good like 4 or 5 year run.
Were you working too, or just?
I was temping, doing a lot of temp work, a lot of corporate executive assistant stuff. And,
but no thought of acting at that time?
Nothing that I talked about.
Yeah.
I had a deep desire to try it, but it's a scary. I don't know why it was scarier than admitting I wanted to be in a band, but it was.
Yeah.
I think because, if you're in a band, you're automatically cool. If you're an actor, you're a fucking theater dork, and you know what I mean? Like, I'm in a punk band. That's awesome. You're in a punk band. What's cooler than being in a punk band? I'm an actor in New York City. Yeah, all right, great. Like, can we just take the check? Thank you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was I harbored secret interest, and I kept going. I would go to see a lot of theater, and I'd go to see a lot of comedy, and I'd go see a lot of improv and stand-up, and I was constantly looking at what was working and what wasn't, watching it with a critical eye. And then when the band broke up and my anxiety finally really fucking caught up with me, and I was like, I'm fucking miserable. My day job is now my job. I'm on a career track at a consulting firm. I don't know what the fuck happened here, but I started taking improv classes at Upright Citizens Brigade.
Yeah.
And
1999?
98. Yeah.
98, okay.
98 is when I started there. And just felt really comfortable really quickly, and then got really lucky because it was the early days of that theater. It was very easy to get stage time. They were just trying to kind of fill the week, Now it's like when it closed before the pandemic, you had to like audition for this, that, and the other thing, and it was very, very hard to get up on stage. But back in my day, it was. They were just like, we just gotta put stuff on stage. We just gotta try stuff out, and it was really much more punk. It was really much more like we're just kind of making this up as we go along.
Yeah.
We're figuring out what works. We're figuring out what doesn't. None of us know what we're doing. It was the comedic equivalent of having like the notes written on the neck of your bass. Seriously, it was that kind of scrappy and DIY. And if you weren't doing stuff there, then you were booking spaces in the back of a bar or something like that. There was all sorts of like weird little performance opportunities, and I just started to feel real comfortable. And then it just kind of snowballed. An agent saw a bunch of us. We started getting sent out for commercials. Some of us started booking those commercials, and it just kind of went from there.
Wow. So would you say?
I'm open this door. It's getting hot in here.
Are you good? Yeah. So would you say that like pretty much cured or helped you climb out of that depression?
It didn't. I'm gonna be living with some form of depression and anxiety for the rest of my life, but it takes away let me phrase this properly here.
Because I only asked that because, due to personal experience, I remember there was a point in time, my brother had passed away in 2013, and I stopped doing comedy. I started doing stand-up in 2010. I stopped doing comedy after my brother passed away because I was just like, I don't feel like making people laugh.
Of course.
And then
God, I'm so sorry.
And then 2015, I was just like, why don't you just take an acting class?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not stand-up. It's like, there's no pressure to like make anyone laugh. It's just acting. Like, why don't you take an acting class? And that, I would say, helped me climb out of this thing. It was one of many things. It wasn't solely the only thing, but it was definitely a big, impact onto what helped me climb out of that this obviously mental battle that I was going through, for so long.
It definitely helped me climb out of that particular spell of depression. It definitely helped me because I started to do something that I was good at, and it came with this sort of instant community. It came with a scene. Mm-hmm. And there was, it was a scene in every sense of the word. There was some competition. There was some gossip. But there was also a sense of camaraderie and a shared understanding of things. And I have some very, very dear friends from that community that I'm still really, really good. And I met my girlfriend, who is now my wife and my baby mama, through UCB. So it's been very, very good to me. Oh, that door makes all the difference. It feels so nice in here.
That,
no, it's fine. I didn't even realize how hot it was until you made it cool. Generally speaking, it's just nice to be good at something that is my career now. And it's a career in the arts. It's not necessarily going to keep you depression free.
No, not
you're
going
to have your lumps and your lulls.
I guess for me, it just really helped me take myself out of a reality for a second and learn this thing that I've never done before, and learn it in a way like it's almost like rewired my brain in a sense. And obviously through a lot of acting, whatever character you're portraying, a lot of that character does come from something within, the individual self. So a lot of times I was doing these, characters and, or playing these roles or, or just scenes of movies that have already existed.
Right.
And so I'm just curious. I'm like, oh, did he feel that same way? Because
you can work through a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You can end up not so much when you're doing commercials, but if you're doing work in like actual characters, be it in a scene study class or in TV, you can find yourself working through some stuff. You can find yourself, summoning the stuff that's bothering you, and your character is tearing up, but really it's you. And you're getting a good cry out of it, and there is something very. And I'm not saying you have to use this as therapy, and I'm not saying you should always bring your personal shit into the workplace.
No.
But I think if you strike a balance, it can be very, very healthy and it gives you, at its best, it can give you a heightened sense of empathy for the shit that other people are going through. But what's specifically great about stand-up when it goes well is that real sense of like, this is me. This is my stuff. These are the things I've noticed that are hopefully idiosyncratic enough that you haven't noticed it, but you recognize their truth, right?
Yes.
And this is me like trying to dilute stand-up down to just a few sentences. Like, I've noticed this thing, you haven't noticed it yet, but you have, and I'm going to point it out, now we're all laughing. And when that works, that's got to be amazing. That's got to give you a sense of community.
There's such a beauty to it. Even when you don't land a joke, I still think there's so much beauty in that, because I've seen people even for myself, where I've done a joke where it's just not working, and it all of a sudden it just continues, like you just don't give up on it, and it continues to grow, it grows, and all of a sudden it's just like the crowd erupts whenever you do the joke.
Right.
So it's like that's the beauty of stand-up, is that it's not so forgiving.
No. Yeah. And when it goes poorly, you're up there by yourself.
You're by yourself, and everyone, the eyes are just on you, and it's like it feels like your soul's getting punched.
My wife had a very brief career in stand-up where she went very, very high and then collapsed. Where she started to do stand-up in 2002, right after we moved out here.
Okay.
And she very, very quickly got on to Montreal JFL. Got to the new faces at the Just for Laughs Festival
That's a
in
big deal,
Montreal.
right?
Yeah,
It's a huge
I did
deal.
it in 2019.
So
Okay.
but in 2002 they were still handing out like
the
development
development
deals
deals,
to
yes.
people.
It's
who
different
did
now,
that.
but-
Yeah, it's not the Kingmaker process that it was back then. But she goes up there and she's got like a solid 5.
Yep.
That's it.
Oh.
Not 5 and then some B cuts that she can pull out in emergency. She has 5 minutes and she gets out and her first bit dies 1,000 deaths.
Oh.
And she has and like she goes backstage and she's got another show to do later that night and the host is like, I would lose that first bit. And she's like, that takes me down to 3 minutes. I don't know what I'm going to do.
Oh, wow.
So like it was a shaky experience for her, but when it goes well, and you get those moments where, because there's the guys who just do really solid one-liners, and that's amazing. But the guys who are more story-based have to have a little more patience in themselves and their audience and build a little bit. And sometimes the audience isn't quite sure what's going on at first, but if you can pay it off, that's got to be the most satisfying thing in the world. Yeah, that's like building to a crescendo or a key change in a song.
Yeah,
it's a very similar muscle. You'll find you get the same kind of high from like, oh, this was kind of quiet, and then we suddenly build in, boom, here's the fucking chorus, you know. And they're similar muscle groups.
Yeah, I was thinking about that too, like playing a song out to a crowd, nobody really gets it. First time playing more and more, playing shows, and then people know the song and they sing along to it, and then it becomes.
And there's been times where like a song that you guys like, you're like, we're gonna go out and do this song tonight, and then
crowd doesn't like
the
it.
crowd just doesn't like it.
Or opposite.
Do you have those kind of songs?
Yeah, like a song we don't want to play, then we finally play it, and the crowd loves it. That happened the last run when Max played, let's play this song. Like maybe it was like I See This or something. The crowd went crazy. We haven't played it in years because we thought.
Oh yeah, you
you don't really know. You have to,
I have to make a confession.
Yeah.
I don't feel good about this, but I'm doing it on the air because I want to be held accountable. I took off before your set at Punk Rock Bowling, and here's why. I'm so sorry. I went there to see. My buddy was first on the bill. My buddy Monty from DFL. You must know Monty from DFL.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Monty Messex, punk rock grandfather, great guy. I saw him. He melted my goddamn face. He was quiet, like mild-mannered guy. Works for the city. Talks like this all the time. Shreds. Gets up there, fucking absolutely melts my goddamn face off. But it started to get real crowded in a real small room.
Oh, it was
And it was September. It was between waves, but it was Nevada, and people were pretty loosey-goosey with the masky.
Yeah.
And I was just like, fuck. And I felt awful because your son had been so cool, and you had been so cool,
Yeah.
and I was like, I gotta get the fuck out of here. I'm so
It's all
sorry.
good. It's all
I'm so
good.
sorry. I want to and I like you guys a lot. You guys were, because again, you guys and Gorilla Biscuits were like the hookiest bands out of New York hardcore.
Wow,
you
thank
guys
you,
had
man.
you guys had the melodies that were, because I like a loud guitar and a pop hook. You put those two things together, you own me. And so I dig your shit a lot. So it was a real bummer, but I wanted to confess
Thank you.
that
No, it's all good,
on
man.
mic.
We might play. We might do a show with his band soon in LA. You know, like
Fuck yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Since then I have had COVID and I've gotten my second booster, so I'm fucking flush with antibodies. Let's party. I will see you fuckers in the pit. Let's do this.
Yeah, because you might play a record store. Actually, it's gonna be really tight. Like a free show
Oh
or
really?
something. Yeah.
Which one? Are you playing that one in
Program?
Oh no, what's Program?
It's where's it at?
Fullerton.
Oh fuck, I don't know this place at all. There's like a what is it called?
Oh, there is one out here. Somebody told me the other day.
Is it out here?
Yeah, it's in like Eagle Rock or something. Oh Christ.
And bands play there.
Oh yeah.
Permanent Records?
Is that what it is?
What's
it called?
Permanent Records?
Maybe.
Is that it? There's one where there's like a record store with a space in the back, like a stage in the back. Anyway, but yeah, that'd be awesome. I'd love to see you guys. I haven't been to a record store show in fucking forever. Let's do this.
It might be.
But
it looks like a black box theater, doesn't it? The space in the back.
No, it looks like an extension of the record store.
Oh, no,
so we're thinking of something else. But I'll go to Fullerton. I'll fucking totally go.
I'm trying to find one in LA that's like a little bigger and more than 50 people can fit in there. Especially if I do a free show like us together, it'd be super fun.
What are the small venues in LA now? I haven't been to a small show.
I think Echo is pretty small. Echo in Silver Lake.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I haven't played this.
I know. Yeah, I haven't.
Well, there's the upstairs Echo and the downstairs one.
Yeah.
The downstairs one's a little bigger. People are playing the Lodge Room a lot, but they're doing more indie stuff than punk.
Okay. And Highland Park has a couple spots too.
Do you remember Mr. T's Bowl before it was the fancy bowling place? How long you been in LA?
2001.
Okay, so right around then, around the aughts, there was a bowling alley on Figueroa that is still a bowling alley, but now it's like a fancy candlepin bowling alley with artisanal pizza. It used to be a shithole called Mr. T's Bowl, and they had a space back there. And I sat in with some friends. And I'm friends with these guys, the Kung Fu Monkeys, and not Los Kung Fu Monkeys, the Kung Fu Monkeys. 2 different bands. Don't get me started. Anyway, I sat in with those guys a couple times, and we might have even. But that used to be a really cool venue back frankly when Hancock Park was like the Queens of LA.
It was,
right?
Yeah.
Before it was all like vegan eateries and again, non-corporate coffee shops, which that's the end. There go the rents.
Do you miss New York? Yeah.
And my family's, my parents are gone. It's impossible to be middle class there. I still have some friends. I have 2 friends who live in Brooklyn who have been dating each other for years, but don't want to give up their individual apartments because they can't really afford to pool their resources. And I'm like, guys, Jersey City, Newark, bite the fucking bullet. Get out of there, guys. Stop insisting you've got to live in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
If you're listening to this, guys, and I know you are, the guy is definitely listening. The girl might not be. Dude, Newark. Newark is different. Shut up. Newark is not what it used to be.
Newark is home of carjacking. That's what they kicked off. I hope you know that.
Carjacking kicked off?
In Newark, New Jersey.
What about where's the place you were at?
Newark used to be the capital of carjacking.
Back in the day.
Oh, back in the day it was the capital of carjacking. No, it was
Asbury Park is beautiful now too.
Yeah.
That's the place where I was like, I don't feel like I'm in Jersey.
Dude, Asbury Park is so different, man.
You get down to the shore and that's a whole different
I
thing.
tell them all these stories about the New York.
So I'm like ready to see it, and I'm like, wait, what is this?
You love Lower East Side.
Lower East Side.
Well, CB's is a fucking John Varvatos now, so I mean, if you're into a $500 suit, then where I lost my glasses.
You remember Coney Island High?
Loved Coney Island
High. That's like a Chipotle now or something.
That was a great space.
Amazing venue, man.
And we played. We opened for the Dickies there one time, actually, on their 20th anniversary tour. We played a bunch of great fucking bills at Coney Island High.
Great.
There were 2 spaces. There was a smaller one upstairs and a larger one downstairs. We played both. That place was great, and I don't know why. It's tempting to just be like, Giuliani, but I don't really know why it closed because it seemed to be doing great business. I'd heard a rumor they were serving underage kids, but that was never corroborated.
Wait, what place was it?
It was called Coney Island High, but it was on St. Mark's Place. It was nowhere near Coney Island.
Oh.
I think it was Jesse Mallon and the Degeneration guys were part of that
That's
venue
right.
too.
Why do I feel like every time you guys say Coney Island High, I feel like you guys are playing a high school auditorium?
No, I know. Everyone would, and people would be like, how are you fucking going to get all your equipment up to go? I'm like, no, it's 8th Street.
Did you ever hear the rumor that Bono was going to buy and help CBGBs? That he was with Joey Ramone on his deathbed? They were really close. And he was going to supposedly, I don't know what happened, there's rumors that Bono was going to save CBGBs.
Oh, wow.
Back then, I don't know if it's true.
Well, they dedicated the street just north of CB's to Joey Ramone, but the sign keeps getting stolen.
It does? I used to see him walk around.
They'll probably have to raise it up.
Yeah.
We used to see Joey walk around the streets all the time. There's Joey Ramone walking by.
And you could talk to him.
Yeah.
And he wouldn't shake your hand, but you could talk to him. And he was gracious.
Really?
Oh, yeah. You could see Johnny walking around the street. Don't talk to Johnny. But you could see you could see Joey walking around the street. And it was this 6'7" God.
And you can go up to him and just
you could go up and say, hey, I love your work. And you'd see him walking around with when Stan from the Dickies was in town. You'd see the 2 of them walking around all the time. Dude. You'd see him walking around with Jesse from Degeneration. Right along St. Mark's Place because he had a place on 9th, I want to say, right?
Yep. I think his mom and his brother have it now, or one of them passed, or somebody has it. Yeah,
the mom just passed. Mickey's still kicking around. Mickey was in a band called Stop that we used to play with occasionally in the '90s. Stop? Is that right? Doesn't sound right.
Man.
But Mickey Lee. Mickey Lee was the name he went by. Yeah.
Wow. I never met him. Did he look like him?
Yeah, a little bit. You'd had to be told they were brothers, but once you were told, you're like, oh, I see it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It was that kind of thing.
Wow. Okay.
That is the beauty. You brought this up earlier. The beauty of the hardcore and punk rock world is that literally someone you idolize.
They were not rock stars.
They're just I'm a human too.
The closest thing we had to a rock star was Joey Ramone. He was still approachable.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Yeah, that was a very, very important part of the music and the community was that real sense of accessibility.
I mean, while you're looking at Joey Ramone.
Yeah.
I lived. Me and my wife lived above the Irish pub. I think it's on 10th Street
I'm going to need just a little more.
It's like between second and third. It's a famous Irish pub. It's like a block or two this way. So what would that be? Like 7th Street we lived on? That's 7th
McSorley's?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
And
so McSorley's is so Irish. How Irish is it? It's so Irish that in the corner they had a huge picture, like the size of these cabinets, of Jack Ruby shooting Lee Harvey Oswald.
No.
Yes.
Jesus,
That's how Irish that place was, that they were celebrating the death of the guy who killed Kennedy. So it was within my lifetime they started letting women drink there. That place was old school.
Oh, they were like that.
That place was old fucking school.
St. Patrick's Day was horrible on that street.
Oh, that place was fucked
and I'm
up.
part Irish too. But Rollins was dating Kennedy from MTV, and she lived on my block. So I'd see Rollins walking by all the time.
Really?
Rollins was dating Kennedy just so they could argue about politics?
I don't know,
That's
man.
fascinating.
Yeah, they just always walk down.
That's a well-kept punk rock secret. I don't think I ever knew that.
There you go.
Rollins dated Kennedy.
I only think I knew that because of you.
One time I yelled, "I love Black Flag," and he looked up and whatever.
Do you remember Some Records?
Yeah.
Okay, so Some Records was across Taras Shevchenko Place, which was that one block.
Okay.
And it was downstairs across
Some
from McSorley's, right?
Yeah.
And that place was like a punk rock speakeasy. Mm-hmm. All they sold was hardcore and punk rock.
Yep.
That was another place where you're like, we shouldn't be in here, should we? This isn't safe, right? And you went down in the basement. There was like one tiny little sign. It was very much like you had to know. You know, you had to.
That's kind of cool.
It was kind of cool, but it was also kind of scary. But you had to know.
Literally underground, yeah.
Yeah, literally fucking underground.
I used to love that, going to record stores, looking at records and thank you lists and see the T-shirts that the bands are wearing and check out those bands, and that's how you found other music.
That's true.
That's where my deep dives come from.
Yeah.
No, it's really true. Yeah, when a band would be photographed wearing another band's shirt, that would set off this wonderful domino effect.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And it's interesting because I remember very specifically, we were talking about the New Wind record earlier.
Yes.
And that's the one where Steve started wearing his metal shirts. And I was like, maybe I should give metal another shot. Maybe I should give these Slayer guys another shot because the guys from 7 Seconds like Slayer. Maybe I should stop being a snob and check these guys out.
Okay.
That's literally what my thought process was because he was wearing a Slayer shirt on the pullout on the lyric sheet for
and then
New Wind.
opposite of that, Kevin started growing his hair and listening to U2, and they put U2 on a thank you list.
Yep.
I got into U2 because of 7 Seconds.
Did you really?
And
That's
Kevin started singing more in those records, Praise and Ourselves and So Force Revolution. I loved all those records. I love the first hardcore records, but I love when a band, I don't know, I love when he started singing more.
Well, New Wind is fun because it's a half-half record, you know.
They got a lot of shit for that, though.
They got a ton of shit for that,
Wait, which record
New Wind. And you loved all the songs off there,
Yeah, what? People hated that?
Yeah.
People hated that record. You got to understand at the time, though, they were coming off of a straight four-chord, loud, fast rule thing. You know, the album right before that is Walk Together, Rock Together, right?
Yep.
And then so the next thing they come out with is single notes on the guitar. Not chords. Single notes.
Yeah.
Heresy.
Just one day.
I'm actually glad.
Songs are beautiful,
I'm actually glad
man.
that I heard it more so now because he would always talk to me about 7 Seconds, and it was one of those bands.
Man.
When I saw them live open for Circle Jerks, I was like,
Oh, you were at that show too?
Yeah.
So
I don't know how I missed you guys.
I was like, oh my God. Wow. And then ever since then, I just went on the 7 Seconds run.
Oh, they're fucking great.
That was like one of the most amazing things I could have ever seen. And his voice, so angelic.
Dude.
And the sing-alongs and the whole
sing-alongs,
Palladium singing Woes and so
Goosebumps,
fun.
like,
The
99 Rebellions. Oh my God.
The Palladium went crazy for
I
them.
know.
Yeah.
It was beautiful. And they played a lot of songs off New Wind. That was nice. And Sammy
they
on drums.
played Somebody Help Me Scream, which I did not expect to hear, man.
Yes.
Did not expect to hear that. That was exciting.
Sammy on drums, Youth of Today.
Yeah, sure.
Killing it, man.
So the story I heard about Sammy was that Sammy was so young when he started playing. He's younger than me. That they would sneak him in the kick drum.
Yeah.
Yeah, is that true? Okay,
Yeah.
They would sneak him in, and it would be like, well, I don't see who's playing drums. And it was this little fucking kid. It was this like 14-year-old kid behind the drums.
So he was that young.
Yeah.
He was fucking. He was not supposed to be at CB's. They had a 16 and up, and they were strict as Jesus about it.
Yeah.
And if you're in New York, you don't have a fucking learner's permit. No one's taking it. Your school doesn't teach driver's ed.
Yeah.
So I would bring my actual seal of New York birth certificate to fucking CBGB's, and then I lost the fucking thing because of course I did. But like you had to bring because again, who had my fucking teachers don't drive? What are you saying? Driver's license? What kind of ID am I supposed to have in New York?
Yeah.
So you never drove out there?
No, I learned to drive when I moved here at
Me
the age
too.
of 30. Fuck off!
Age of 33, I got my license, man. Yeah.
That is fucking amazing. We're pounding it. That's
Dude, and that's why I drive like so safe.
I drive like a fucking old lady,
Me too.
dude.
Nobody wants to drive. I don't even have a car. But dude.
My fucking wife hates driving with me because my wife grew up in the fucking suburbs outside Boston, drives her parents' car when she's 15, has her first accident in 16, but gets it out of the way. She's done.
Yeah.
You have your first accident at 32, Chappelle? You want to know how fucking humiliating that is? You want to know how fucking humiliating that is?
It's crazy to try to get your license in your 30s, too.
Oh, you're sitting there, you're surrounded by teenagers. You're the oldest person in that fucking class. And they're like, yeah, you're here for driver's ed. I am, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
But
yes.
then learning how to drive in Los Angeles, it's no joke.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You guys learned how to drive out.
I didn't drive in New York, but still, yeah.
Put some fucking hair on your chest, though, man. I don't know about you, but my second lesson, they took me on the freeway.
Wow.
Second lesson, and it's one of those cars where he's got a brake, but like, your instructor is sitting next to you, and he's got his own brake pedal. But like, sometimes the key thing on the highway is to speed up and get the fuck out of the way, So even that that is not a fail safe. That isn't like a catch all.
Yeah.
But he took me on the 101, my second driving lesson, age 30.
Fuck.
Yeah, that puts some hair on your chest, though,
It
right?
does, but I got another information for you. First of all, I don't drive on highways.
Really?
I can't do it.
Yeah.
How do you
and
go
I,
other?
And I sold my car
place?
9 months ago and bought my son a car, so I don't even have a car. I take birds. I walk. I take Ubers.
Yeah.
I've been on the highway twice, and I just get so scared, like the 5 lanes. I just freak out. I pull over. I can't do it, man.
Did your son drive you to Vegas? How'd you get to Vegas?
He drove.
He drove.
I know, he kills
awesome.
He kills driving. He's incredible.
Oh, okay, he's fucking born in L.A. He's he's got it in his bones. My kids are going to be great drivers. Yeah,
and I have a lot of friends, like I said, their names we know that don't drive either.
Oh yeah,
older cats out here. Yeah.
Oh no, I'm sure.
East Coasters
I'm
and
sure.
like.
Yeah, it's all East Coast.
Oh, it's all East Coast. It's all East Coast. Yeah, that's fucking amazing.
I know.
So I was supposed to fly to Vegas, right? And my flight got canceled. I was supposed to be out there Thursday night, and I was going to try to make it to the DI show. Right?
Yeah.
I was going to fly right in. I'm going to go straight to the fucking DI show. Bring my luggage. I don't give a shit. And but they cancel it. It's like 10 o'clock at night. And I call my wife and I go, I'm fucking doing it. I'm gunning it tonight. I'm going tonight, and I'm going to get there. I'm going tonight. And she was like, yeah, Dr. Thompson, no, you're fucking not. You're going to come home. You're going to get a good night's sleep, and then we'll talk. And I was like, all right. And so 100% right. 100% right. So I went home, and I left first thing in the morning and got there around noon, and I caught Peg Boy at the pool.
Ooh,
that
Peg
was
Boy,
great.
another great band, man.
Fucking Peg Boy. Fucking
Naked
killing
Ray
it.
Gun, check out those 2 bands.
Oh, fucking Peg Boy. I love Peg Boy. Peg Boy looked like volunteer firemen.
Chicago, man.
Yeah, well, Chicago,
Working
right?
class,
It's just Chicago.
yeah.
Fucking, there's that Midwestern thing. Them, Dillinger 4. These are the guys who are like, they are the ladder and rescue group. They are just, and they happen to have guitars. They're great. They're fucking great.
You would love Peg Boy, man.
You would love Peg Boy.
So melodic, dude, amazing, man.
Great, like big sing-along fist pumping choruses. You dig them a lot, yeah. But yeah, so that was the longest. I think that was the longest drive I ever did solo. Was L.A. to Vegas.
Oh, wow.
And again, driving for 20 years now, but that was the longest drive I had ever made by myself. Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
Does your wife like punk too?
Nah, not her jam. I mean, she doesn't hate it, and she appreciates the Ramones, and she appreciates their place in musical history.
Yeah.
But she's not. She was into Green Day when it was the law.
Yeah.
In 1994, when
it was the law.
No, when Clinton signed that bill, and you had to be into
The
Green
year
Day.
punk broke.
Yeah, exactly. But I don't think she doesn't necessarily seek it out.
Yeah.
But she's into like a lot of the other stuff that a lot of punk bands I love are into. Like, so she's into the Kinks.
Cool.
And
Kinks are awesome.
the Kinks are great, and the more you understand the Kinks, the more you realize how they paved the way for so much.
I agree.
Much.
We have a bunch
credit.
of shit in cover. We have a bunch of shit in common, but she did not join me at punk rock bowling. that was my my little thing. Yeah.
Punk rock bowling, it's awesome. It's intense. Like the pools are full of like. Just like all like Liberty Sprite, just everything's just like a punk rock soup. It's crazy, man.
Yeah,
punk rock soup.
It was my first time going, and it was because of the
It's a
pandemic that I was like, I'm finally going to go to punk rock bowling. I've been talking about it for years. I am doing this.
Yeah, same. I always wanted to go too.
And I don't regret a thing. I had a great fucking time, man. And I bounced around. I had like one guy who was sort of my North Star, and we would check in on each other constantly. Who's he's like a 1 or 2 beers a night guy, so he wasn't like I didn't have to take care of him or anything. My buddy Jordan, shout out to Jordan. And then I would I hung out with the guys from Punk Rock Karaoke a bunch that weekend and hung out with the Field Day guys a bit. It was just a fucking delight. I met Brandon Cruz for the first time.
Oh, that's cool.
And Brandon's, Brandon is the sitcom punk rock, connection.
Yeah.
He's the
right.
Rosetta Stone of sitcom punk rock guys. Courtship of Eddie's Father and Dr. No, man. He's he's where it all connects, man.
Wow, that's right.
He's where it starts. Yeah, he's great.
So, let's get back to your. I'm gonna get back to your. You're trying out for commercials. You're doing all kinds of stuff. You're really diving into the acting and all that, right? So, like, what is like the first thing you land? Like was it TV or a movie?
The first thing I landed was there was a guy at UCB who had written a film. And we're like, yeah, okay, we've all written screenplays, buddy. But he had actually written a film and sold it to DreamWorks, and it was getting made.
Oh, shit.
And he got a bunch of us auditions for big roles in it, and none of us got the big roles. But I got a role as a waiter in the movie Road Trip.
Yep. That's what happened, right? Number one, 2000?
Which came out in 2000.
Wow.
We shot it summer 99.
I like that movie.
I had just joined the Screen Actors Guild. And
that's a big movie too.
It was a pretty big movie.
Yeah.
It was marketed as a Tom Green vehicle. It wasn't really. He worked like a week on it, but he sort of narrates it, so it looks like he's in the whole movie.
Yeah.
He did like 4 days on the thing. It was one of those things. And then they edited it to make it look like he's there the whole time. But I play a waiter who tells. It was a fun role because it's kind of a funny scene, but the most important part is that I have to tell one of the dads that his son has maxed out his credit card. Mm-hmm. And you need to know that information in order for the second act of the movie to make sense. So my scene was cut proof.
Wow.
You could not cut my scene.
It needed to be there.
It needed to be there. And I don't do a ton of film work, but I do have this lucky streak where if I get a film role, I'm given like a little bit of exposition that like, the film dies without me, guys. Can't cut me. You're going to have to reshoot.
Yeah.
You're going to have to reshoot. So I don't know. So I get to tell Fred Ward, who we just lost a couple weeks ago, may he rest, the great Fred Ward, Remo Williams, if you're listening at home. I got to tell him that his son maxed out his credit card, and it was awesome. It was so... Fred Ward was in Tremors, man. He's the shit. He was great, yeah. So that was my first role, and that... It was one of those things where, like, credits start to talk. And like, oh, well, if he did a movie, then maybe we can see him for some TV stuff. And when I moved out here, all I had was a manager, but I got very, very lucky very quick. And
what made you move out here? Just to act?
I wanted to New York... Look, New York's great, and I know I knock it sometimes. But if you live anywhere for 30 years... it starts to feel like, oh, this is my hometown, and I guess this is where I'm going to die. And, and it's hard to explain that to people who build their whole lives around eventually moving to New York.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You feel a little crazy, and frankly, you feel ungrateful that you're leaving this place that people aspire to move to.
True.
But it was my fucking Bedford Falls after a point, Like I gotta fucking get out of here before I throw myself off a bridge, And I was embarrassed. I didn't know how to drive, and I figured LA would force me to learn how to drive.
To grow up a little bit, responsibility.
Some genuine responsibility. Get away from my parents. Whom I loved very much, but who, if your parents are in the same town, you're going to find yourself asking them for money. You're going to find yourself like leaning on them in ways. And I was like, I need to like really shift things up. And I also just could not get seen for Law and Order, which was kind of the only game in town at the, this is, remember, this is before 30 Rock or any of the Comedy Central shows were shooting out there, Broad City or any of that stuff. It was Spin City and Law and Order were the two, and the soap operas, and there's nothing for me on the soap operas. So there was nothing going on in New York at that time, and LA had everything. I was done with winter.
Yeah, fuck the winter.
Yeah, so I got real lucky and started booking some sitcom work early on.
But later on, you're on CSI New York, though.
Which shot here.
But still, though, I mean,
shot here. There's one scene in that episode. There's one scene in that episode where they shot it in Times Square. Everything else is at a bus depot in downtown LA, and it said Interior Port Authority, and I was like, we all know this is far too big for Port Authority. Gary Sinise, help me out here. This is far too fucking big for Port Authority, right? Yeah, no, that's a dirty lie.
So when you come out, it starts going good for you.
I got really lucky really quick. Yeah. I just, for whatever reason, I think being someone that casting directors didn't know who was 30 already, because most of the 30-year-olds they had been seeing for 8 years or so.
Oh, yeah.
Those kids got out of
Nice.
drama school and moved straight here. So I was something of a new face at 30, and novelty counts in the arts, in music, in anything. Oh, this is a new thing.
Yeah.
Well, he's 30, but no, it's a new thing.
Yeah.
So I think that gave me a little niche, and then it was, and you see, like, I'm proud of my resume. I'm really proud of my resume. I got 100 credits all over the place.
All over the place.
But those first couple gigs, you have to chalk up to luck to a certain extent, and I just got real lucky.
The Heat?
The Heat. By the time The Heat came along, I was established.
I fucking love that movie, man.
It's a great movie.
It's incredible.
Wait,
man.
which one?
Not Heat. The Heat, which is Sandra Bullock and Melissa McCarthy as
I
cops
love
in Boston.
And Rappaport. And
Rappaport's in there.
And Bill Burr.
Bill Burr.
So, all right.
From,
Are you a knock? Are you not a knock?
Okay, so that's Nate Cordry. That's my buddy Nate Cordry asking, "Are you a knock?"
So good.
There's two trashy women who sit across from him, right? And one of them is Jessica Chaffin, and the other one is my wife Jamie Denbo.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah, are you a boy or a girl? When she asked Sandra, that's Jamie. That's my wife.
Oh my God, man.
That's my fucking.
We
wife,
watched that repeatedly because my mom talks like that. She's from Taunton, Mass. Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course. No, yeah. So my wife is from the North Shore of fucking Boston.
Okay.
And you put one fucking beer in her, and she sounds like she's about to get kicked out of fucking Fenway for a hate crime. She's a fucking mess.
I hate crime.
She's fucking trash. The second one fucking beer in that drug, and it's just that fucking skank. Good Lord.
That is such a great
like she's gonna fucking throw up in her Bruins jersey. She's a mess.
It's so great.
The whole conversation is incredible.
I love that.
It's a great scene. Yeah.
So you're way established by that point.
I had a foot in the door by that. By that point, I'm already recurring on Big Bang Theory.
Yeah.
And so I'm not a known commodity, but I'll put it this way: that was a straight offer. I didn't have to audition for that one. That was a straight that was a straight offer, which was nice. I play an FBI agent.
Yes.
Super early on in the movie. Paul Feig directed it because only the guy who created Freaks and Geeks looks at me and goes, FBI agent. But he did, God bless him. So yeah, that's a really fun credit. It's a fun movie.
It is
Hey man, good to see you again.
Max,
see you again.
All right, man.
Max, we're about to be in the Big Bang Theory right now. Huh? We're about to talk about Big Bang Theory right now. I mean, is the Big Bang Theory is that a life changer, game changer for you?
Well, in a slow way, because it was I only did 2 or 3 episodes a year, but it was for 11 of the 12 seasons.
Yeah.
So it doesn't really become like things are really different now until it starts going into reruns in season 5. So that's when the syndication money comes in, which is impressive.
Yeah. It's like royalties, right? Record royalties.
Yeah,
okay.
yeah. It's like record royalties, exactly. And it's being shown in places that are airing commercials, and that commercial revenue trickles down eventually, and some of it lands in my pocket.
Wow. And that's a big show, man.
It's a big show. It's big all over the world. It really has a very international fan base, and the syndication, the rerun schedule made it look like I was on the show more often than I actually was.
Yeah, it seemed like you always,
Yeah, no, I only did 25 of the 200 plus episodes of that show.
Man.
But the other cool thing was that they were, oh my God. So Max just showed me his Big Bang
It's his
Theory
favorite show, man.
Bazinga pint glass. That's fantastic. That is fantastic.
I should have gave him water in that.
I know.
Actually, would it kill you? Could I have some water?
Yeah, Max, can you give me some water?
Sorry, is that all right?
You want sparkling or still?
Still's fine, thank you.
Do you want it like this?
That's fine.
Sure.
That's totally fine.
He doesn't want the glass, dude. He doesn't want to drink out of his own glass.
That'd be weird. It's not really my glass. I'm not on that one. There's no merch with my face on it, but it still would be weird. It's like I know all those guys. Some of them have been to my house.
Yeah.
So when shit like that happens, it's almost like I get quarterly royalties from my albums I've done. It's kind of the same thing in TV.
Exactly. You get quarterly. You get every 3 months. Every
so good, man.
First quarter, whatever year, you get a check. And they're getting smaller. The show's no longer in production, and it's not as it can't command the ad revenue that it used to.
Yeah.
But it's still what actors call the magic mailbox.
Yeah.
What is that?
It's exactly what it sounds like. You open up your mailbox and hello, check.
Because you know what it's going to be.
You don't know what it's going to be. You don't. It's a total crapshoot. But there's a couple gigs like that. I have a very small role in the Santa Claus 3, but every December that movie plays fucking nonstop. And in like March, a check comes from Santa Claus 3, and I'm always like, oh, hello, all right, dinner's on me. All right, it's nothing crazy, don't go out and buy an Audi, but it's a nice little surprise.
But this is exactly what I said the day about Rappaport was in this movie Hitch. I'm not gonna say anything else, but with Will Smith.
Yeah,
he's in there he's in there really short.
But I got another friend who's in Hitch, and it like he bought his fucking house off of Hitch royalties, man.
I'm not to blow up Rap's spot, but he said that shit's no joke. You get those checks.
And Hitch is always played.
But he's barely in the movie.
Hitch is one of those things where it's like on TNT all the time.
All the time.
It's you can put it on and you're just going to feel good for 2 hours.
Almost, it's a timeless movie.
Kevin James is appealing in that movie. Exactly. That's not easy. And
is it only if you speak though, or you can just be in the scene for a second and you
need to speak, and if you speak, you're going to be in the ending credits. And you've got to be credited in the film. Like background players aren't seeing that kind of scratch.
Okay.
But yeah, if you have a speaking role,
and it's even like less than 5 minutes. It's like, wow, man.
Yeah. It'll be sort of based on what you were initially paid for the thing.
Okay.
And it'll have something to. So if like him, you worked a day, or like me on The Heat, I worked 1 day.
Remember using The Heat, FBI agent Max. Yeah. And Max's wife is one of the women at the table. Are you a boy or a girl?
No, his wife.
His wife.
You said Max's wife.
And the Heat at the table?
He said,
are you a boy or a girl?
Max, his wife.
Oh.
But it sounded like Max's wife.
It's the East Coast talk I just can't keep up with.
I know. We speak very quickly. You know why we speak so quickly? Because there's 8 people behind us in the deli line. And we got to get fucking going here,
dude,
Chappelle.
That's so true.
We got to get going, okay? You want to fucking bagel with a schmear? Move.
Do you feel like you slowed down since you lived here, though? Like that kind of energy?
A bit, but I'm still really...
One of my homies just went to New York for the first time. He was, I don't know what he was ordering. He was in line for something, ordering something. And he's just kind of like browsing like...
No.
And the dude's finally was like, yo, what do you want?
Yeah.
the guy was like, what do you want?
Yeah.
And he was like, I was just... kind of just browsing.
Don't think they're going to go with that customer's always right shit here. Yeah. Let's get fucking going.
Was Jumanji like that too?
Jumanji was weird because there was so many special effects in that particular scene. I was actually there for most of the week.
Oh, wow.
Because they had to shoot. I'd never done anything on that scale. Like, I'd done bigger budget movies, but I'd never done like an action fantasy thing that had like the fucking Rock has a stuntman. So there's 2 rocks wandering around the stage.
Big ass.
That's a lot of rock.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
That's a wild thing to see 2 guys who are shaped like the Rock in the same room. That's a weird thing.
That does have to be weird.
So it was a big elaborate thing with costumes and massive sets on the soundstage in Atlanta and special effects and stunts and fight choreography that can go wrong. So I was there for quite some time.
Yeah.
And they also cut some of my stuff, but that was really fun because it got to be like the evil British sidekick of what's his face, the Hound from Game of Thrones. The actor's name has escaped me right now.
I didn't see Game of Thrones.
Oh God, what the fuck was his name? Oh my God, he was so nice. Big Scottish guy who lives off the grid on an island off the coast of Scotland and doesn't even have a TV.
You know, from Game of Thrones.
I'll look it up. You can cut this part.
No, it's okay.
This is gonna drive me. If you're anything like me, this is gonna drive you crazy too.
I know, yeah.
But
big dude.
Big dude, yeah. It was you.
He's got. Doesn't he have Didn't he have a stroke? No, thinking wrong. Big dude.
You better be careful what you guys say on here. What's next? Who's it?
I know, wrong. Big dude.
He's looking him up. We're gonna find who this person is. Sorry, Joe Asian.
Rory McCann. This guy. This cat.
I was thinking the different.
Oh yeah.
This guy. Yeah. So this guy.
He was like,
he's like 6'5" or something, and I was playing his obsequious little henchman. It was so fun, man. Massive,
awesome,
huge costume, massive sets.
Yeah, it's cool.
And I actually. This is a fun LA thing. Jack Black and I used to have kids at the same Jewish preschool.
Wow.
LA! And so I knew Jack anyway going in, which helped.
That's cool.
And so he's everything you want on set. Like he
seems
he plays AC/DC on his phone before the take, right before they yell action to get people pumped up and stuff.
Oh, he does?
Yeah, he's everything you want him to be. He's basically
cool,
Dewey
man.
Finn. He's basically the character from School of Rock showing up to work.
I love
this
that.
is fantastic.
I only hear good things, and like my wife works at the skate park. He's always there skating with his kids, and like,
yeah.
really
His kid
cool.
loves to skate. Yeah,
and well, I mean, I love Curb Your Enthusiasm. That's one of my favorite shows.
And that's my wife playing my wife in there.
Wow, dude. And Family Guy too, Max.
Yeah.
When you meet doing improv, when that's like your hook, they bring you in for shit together a lot. So we would do commercials together. We did Reno 911 together.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We did Curb Your Enthusiasm. All the stuff where you had to improvise, they would just bring us in together because it really does save time.
That's nice,
the
man.
chemistry's already there.
You know,
it's like what Noel was talking about. And the Bee
yeah,
Gees
exactly. It's like what Noel before we were on mic, we were talking about Noel Gallagher talking about the Bee Gees and how interesting it is to hear brothers sing together. There's something about watching married couples improvise that is a similar, I'll go ahead and say it, harmony.
Yes.
Melissa McCarthy and her husband too.
Yeah, they work together all the time. Ben Falcone.
All the time.
And they met at the Groundlings. They met. They're the far richer West Coast version of my wife and I.
Yeah, that's cool. Her husband's always popping up with things too.
Yeah. Oh, he directs.
so great.
He directs and writes. He's a workhorse.
Okay.
He's got a thriving career, but he's got like a perfectly respectable acting career. A lot of people are like, oh, Ben Falcone, but he does fine.
Yeah.
She's just a movie star.
Yeah.
He
Exactly,
does fine
yeah.
though. He's a
Yeah.
perfectly working character actor all the
100%.
time. Yeah.
And I just most recently got into Family Guy because my son Max is obsessed with Family Guys. So watching all that's an incredible show too, man.
Well, I have the weirdest.
Want to say something? Go ahead, Max.
I want to hear this.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, I have the weirdest credit on Family Guy.
Okay.
Do you know what the credit is?
No.
It's actually a live action moment on Family Guy.
Oh, those moments they pop in with the different.
What they would do, they were doing a thing on one episode one time where, do you remember when, I don't think Fox does it anymore, but all the networks used to do a thing where during a show, they would plug the next show
Yes.
at the bottom of the screen.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So they did that on Fox on an episode of Family Guy, but the shows were all fake. And Stewie is on screen going, really? We can't just finish this candy bar before we open another one? And so there were all these fake shows that were like parodies of the kinds of shows you would see on Fox.
Okay.
So it was me and 4 other people, and the show was called Shoving Buddies, and it was just 5 people who were shoving to get in front of the camera, the way you always see people do in the opening credits of sitcoms.
Yeah.
And then the other.
You seen that one, Max, at all? You seen that one yet?
Other, if you Google Shoving Buddies, you will find a very lo-fi photo of me and 4 other actors, live action people at the bottom of a cartoon screen.
Okay.
And the other 2 were, remember, it's Family Guy, so this isn't always in the best taste. The other 2 typical shows that you would see on Fox all the time were Opposite Guys, where it was a businessman and a construction worker with their backs to each other, like, how are these 2 going to get along? And then the third and final one was Slowly Rotating Black Man, which was just what it sounded. It was a middle-aged black guy slowly rotating and looking at you disapprovingly.
Oh my God, he's pulling up right now.
That's me.
Oh yeah, Max is pulling up in the thing.
There it is. That's me. That's me as the Shoving Buddies on Family Guy.
Wow.
Shoving Buddies.
Pleased to report that was also a straight offer. Did not have to audition to be a Shoving
Really?
Buddy. Yeah.
Straight offer.
And
Yeah.
then your character Barry on Big Bang Theory, working at the comic book store and all that.
I did not work at you got me confused with Stewart, who was played by Kevin Sussman. Barry works at the university with the rest of them.
Oh, okay. My bad.
Your son never would have made that mistake. Look
Yeah,
at him.
he
Look
would-
at
yeah,
you right
shit,
now.
fuck,
Look
tip
at
on my
him. Look
notes.
at you right now. He's going to change his last
I know, I
name. What
messed
the
up
fuck
so-
did you do?
He's going
I
to get
messed
that
him
Morse
so
covered
bad.
up on his back.
Max, you have any big bad questions, Max?
Anyway, this interview's over. Fuck you all.
I did mess up with that. I'm sorry about that. But yeah, Big Bang Theory, Max.
By the way,
That was a
it
big part of my
happens
life.
all the time. People
Okay.
go, Stewart. My
Okay.
favorite shit is when people come up to me like, dude, Will Wheaton. I'm like, no, Will Wheaton plays Will Wheaton. That's not me, dude. Which has happened. That has genuinely happened.
And then, one of my favorite movies was Heathers, and you put a book out.
I wrote a book about Heathers.
That's amazing.
I wrote a book
dude.
about Heathers, yeah.
Just because you love it so much?
I love it so much, and a buddy of mine, my friend Sean Howe, was editing a series of books on movies that people don't usually write about.
Okay.
Like, there's millions of books about Citizen Kane. There's millions of books about 8.5 or 7 Samurai or whatever. Let's do something that like means something really intensely to you. And I was like, well, Heathers came out my senior year of high school.
Yeah.
And I was just dating my second consecutive Heather. Because it was, listen, you're born in 87. I can't express upon you how big that name was in the 80s. And it was often the purview of Mean Girls. It was, for some reason, there were a lot of Heathers who could be.
Heather was like.
Heather was risky. Kim's were risky too, but Heathers were risky.
Yeah.
I happened to fall in love with 2 of them in my junior and senior year, respectively. So I went to go see Heathers with my girlfriend, Heather.
Wow.
And so for the book, I did a thing where I interviewed the writer and the director, whom I'd actually worked with the director anyway, so I knew him, Michael Lehman. And then I went back and interviewed the Heathers about what they thought of the film.
Wow.
I'm still in touch with both of them. Thank you, social media.
That's amazing.
Wow.
So, yeah, it's not the book. The print book is out of print, but you can still buy the ebook.
That's
Still out there,
amazing.
yeah.
That is amazing.
was
Was there
fun.
any other movies you want to do a book about or anything like that? No.
Oh, that's an interesting question. You know, the other one I was thinking of was I wanted to do like what it's like to move to L.A. and discover the L.A. of Repo Man.
Ooh.
You know,
classic.
You discover like that area of like Alameda and the
Yeah.
Arts District and how it's changed, and like really kind of view Repo Man as a product of its time, but also like, does that LA exist anymore?
Yeah.
You know, because I'm a huge fan of that film. I think
Yeah,
it's
you ever seen Repo Man?
Mm-mm.
oh, you got to see Repo
It's
Man.
like a punk classic.
It's
man.
a total
Okay.
punk
It's
classic.
with Suburbia and that realm. You know what I
yeah,
mean?
but
Oh, okay.
at the end of the
Decline.
day,
Yeah.
it's
Oh, it's like Decline?
No.
it's not a documentary. Although there's some parts of it that nail LA so well, you're like, that might as well be a documentary. But
Who's
it's,
the actor in that Repo Man?
it's Emilio Estevez.
right.
It's a pre-Breakfast
Oh,
Club Emilio
wow.
Estevez.
That's right.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Harry Dean Stanton.
Okay.
Cy Richardson, don't do this to me. I will be here all fucking night.
No, I
Tracy
forgot.
Walter. But it's a movie about a guy, a punk kid in L.A.
Yeah.
who becomes a repo man to make money and comes across a Chevy Malibu that has an alien carcass in the trunk. And there's a bunch of people who are out trying to
And then the
find
movie
this
just
car,
sets off right
and it goes it goes completely apeshit from there. And it has
Yeah.
this amazing soundtrack though,
It
with like
does.
Black Flag and Circle
Yeah,
Jerks are
Circle
on
Jerk,
it.
yeah.
Iggy
It's so
Pop
funny. I
does
just know the soundtrack to it.
no, the soundtrack was like the starter kit for so many of us.
It really
was like,
was,
oh, I can
man.
bang out a bunch of bands if I listen. I'll know
Yeah.
a bunch of bands that way. Fear.
That's literally all
yeah.
I know it for. is the
Decline
soundtrack.
too. Same thing.
Yeah,
Soundtrack.
yeah. But Repo Man is great. Do yourself a favor. You will
Okay.
very much enjoy.
You like
Repo
Suburbia?
Man. I like Suburbia. Somebody called it punksploitation one time because those kids are kind of awful. You know,
They are, dude. Yeah.
they tear the clothes off that girl in the club.
That's right.
There's all the racial stuff with the black cop and everything that's
Is
a
this his
little
stepdad?
weird. Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
It's a little
dude.
weird. It's not. It doesn't
never
make
thought about
it doesn't
that.
make the scene look great. I mean, it's as a piece of its time.
Yeah.
It's good, and there's actually some great performances by an all-amateur cast.
Flea too.
Yeah, Flea's great. Flea's like the ringer in the cast. He's
Yeah,
actually
yeah,
pretty
yeah.
good. And there's one kid who went on to be in Platoon, Chris something or
Yes,
other.
the blonde kid.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But everyone else is just a kid that Penelope Sphere has found who and some of them are like, oh yeah, well you suck. You're a terrible actor.
Yeah.
Don't ever do this again. But some of them are actually really good. Some of them have like a naturalism. The kid who plays Joe with
Oh,
like the
yeah.
floppy hair, whose girlfriend.
Leaving home again, Joe.
Yeah,
Those
yeah.
days.
You know,
Yeah.
there's some good shit in there, and and the soundtrack is great, and there's footage of TSOL.
I know.
and the Vandals who are great in it. But it's
Di.
DI are great in
Yeah.
it. They do Richard Hung himself, but
Yeah.
it's
Hung himself.
but it's a problematic film.
It
as
is.
the
I was just
kids
thinking
say
about that. The
today.
girl getting a clothes ripped off. That's so fucked.
Yeah,
On the dance floor.
yeah, and it's not like you can't tell what the movie thinks about it. You know, you can't tell if like the movie like, are we supposed to find this funny? What are
Funny,
we?
where's
Where are
what
we
is-
with
yeah,
this?
what is it?
You know, and it's I mean, I still
Sad,
like
too.
it, but I'm not in a massive rush to show it to my kids. I'll put it that way.
Oh.
I'll show them Repo Man. I'm not going to show them Suburbia
Suburbia.
until like I'm very clear that they can be like, okay, this is of its time, and it's a weird time,
Yeah.
and it's also like, I don't know. I've said enough, but I still have a deep fondness for that movie, but it's a complicated
dark,
piece of
man.
work.
Yeah. I think Max. I think I showed you Suburbia about the punk rockers living in the squat, and the kid's got a mohawk, and Ethan he gets hit,
Yeah.
all that. Remember that? The fight with the cops.
The
and
Rejected.
The rejected. Yeah.
Yeah, they live in a squat in. That's got to be like OC, right? That's not up here, right? That's down.
Okay. Okay. Go.
Hit it.
Hit
Hit
it.
it.
Right here.
Hit it.
Since I totally messed up the Big Bang, so go ahead. Go.
So in Big Bang, your name is Barry Kripke, but you were given a speech impediment. Did they do that on purpose to give you a name that sounds like Barry Kripke? Because you have that speech impediment?
That's a good question. When I say Bowie, it sounds a little bit like the way I pronounce my last name in real life, which is a weird thing that my mother-in-law noticed. No, I'll make this as quick as possible. This is a good question.
This is great.
The speech impediment was not in the original script. I showed up to do the audition, and I played him the way you see him on screen, just really cocky. Just he's a physics professor, but he thinks he's the shit.
Yeah.
Like the guy has no self-doubt.
Yeah.
A million miles from who I am in real life. Just this incredibly confident guy leads with his crotch.
Yeah.
And they were like, he's great. I want to give him like a vulnerability or something. And so Chuck Lorre and Bill Prady, who were the two guys who created the show, were sitting in front of me, and they're basically just tossing my fate back and forth between them. And they're like, maybe if he should have a vulnerability. He should have something where like he's not just a complete alpha, so maybe like a speech impediment. And Bill goes, yeah, could you do sort of a subtle, like a Tom Brokaw liquid L? And here's the thing about actors. We say yes to everything, whether we can do it or not.
Yeah.
And that's fine with it when it's a speech impediment. You get in trouble when you're into stuff like horseback riding and shit, That's when people end up in the hospital. But when it's a speech impediment, what's the harm? So I said, sure, I will do something very subtle. And what came out instead was this ridiculous Elmer Fudd thing. But they started laughing. And the big line in that, it's my first episode, the big line is, oh, God. And I never do this, but you're a nice kid, so I'm going to do this for you.
The best question, too, Max. Great.
Yeah.
We're all pathetic and queepy and can't get girls. That's why we fight wobots. So, which is kind of like the ultimate like line of the series in a lot of ways. That's the whole series in a nutshell, in a way, And that killed. That just destroyed it, and I got the job that night.
Wow.
I remember that line,
I
too.
was driving back home when I got the job, and usually they make you wait a day, but like I was in my car just leaving Warner Brothers when I got the call.
So
That's
good.
amazing.
It was.
That's an incredible
So
question.
the name had
Max,
no
man.
no correlation to this because
Initially, no. That's to follow up. One more thing is that initially it was Stuart Kripke. And when they gave me the speech impediment, they rewrote it because they thought, oh, Barry's going to be funnier. Barry will be funnier with the speech impediment.
and
then
Quipke.
Yeah, and then they gave the name Stuart to the guy who runs the comic book shop.
Yes.
Got you. Okay.
Stuart Bloom.
Max Morse.
Fine question, Max.
Max Morse.
Max,
man.
everybody.
You really pay attention.
You have a fine career in entertainment journalism, but I wouldn't wish that on anyone.
Yeah, that's wow. I feel
was a
about
good
that.
question.
Nice work, man.
Wow,
nice work.
man.
I actually have to. Yeah, my son is flying solo at home. I want to go home and rescue him from the PS5.
Well, I think we covered a lot of things on here, right?
Yeah.
Chico?
No, this is great.
Yeah,
This
man.
was really
so
good.
fucking fun, man.
Yeah,
this
so
was
fun.
so fun talking to you guys.
I mean, okay, last question. We usually do optimist or pessimist, but I know you're super positive.
I am. For someone who deals with a lot of depressive disorder, I really am a pretty positive person, and I will credit a lot of that to the shit I was listening to in the 80s, man.
Yes.
I really will. I am able to punch through a lot of shit and keep that PMA, man.
Yeah, I love that, man.
I mean, I think, I think, back me up, Chabal. I think if you're going to do this for a living, I mean, you've got to be optimistic because I mean, you're the odds are not really in your favor, So if you're going into a business where you're going to book 1 in 20 auditions, keep your chin up, Tiger.
Well, awesome, man.
Just listen to The Crew by 7 Seconds. You'll be all right.
Yeah, that's it, man.
I mean, I covered everything on my list. I'm pretty happy with this, man.
Oh, yeah, you
I
did
really
it good.
appreciate you, man.
Meticulous research, man.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I really appreciate you being here, man, and it was great meeting you at the Punk Rock Bowling.
Great to meet you as well.
You have a lovely home. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, Max, thanks for coming in for that question. It was wonderful.
That was great, Max. That was great.
You did a really great job.
For the listener at home, Max has a fucking dope H2O tattoo on his thigh. That's lovely. What a nice way to show respect to you. See, this is my way of showing respect to my parents because my tattoo is where my parents met.
It's awesome.
It's the Unisphere in Queens at the World's Fairgrounds in Flushing, and that's your respect to your folks. That's so cute. I love that.
Well, thank you, man. We'll have to do a part 2 someday. We'll just nerd out on all kinds of music.
We went pretty deep on the 7 Seconds catalog for this one, though. Yeah.
Kev will be so stoked.
Oh, good. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I've never met the guy. I think he follows me on Instagram now, and but he just seems like a sweetheart.
Sweetheart.
And I said this earlier. He seems like the Tom Hanks of hardcore.
Yeah.
Just like nobody says anything bad about the guy.
That's a great. Yeah. Well, thank you, man. Thank you so much for being here. People can find you on the gram, find you anywhere, right? Pretty much.
At John Ross Bowie across a bunch of platforms.
All right.
Awesome, bro. Thank you, man.
Thank you,
Chappelle.
Thank you.
Awesome.
All right, bye.
Yeah. Hey guys, thanks for listening. Please rate, review, subscribe. If you haven't subscribed yet to this podcast, please do that. And whatever platform you are listening to this on, I'm glad you found me. You can rate me and review me on there also. So thank you guys sincerely for the support. I cannot wait for you guys to do the next one.